Scent candles don't add just ambience to your home. They actually change the way you see your rooms. Some candles make your rooms look bigger, while others make your room look smaller. And today, I'm meeting with Rick Ruffalo, the Senior Vice President of Brand Marketing and Innovation at Yankee Candle, to learn about this thing he calls sentosphere. I'm hitting the road, searching for answers, and finding great design. It's a quest for beauty, function, and of course, inspiration. I understand that the different scents you pick actually affect the way you see your room.
You know, it's really interesting. We call it sentosphere, and
that's a good word for it.
Yeah, it really is. It kind of captures this idea that people probably don't realize it, but the sense of smell is one of the most powerful they have. And it's one of those things that, as I mentioned earlier, when you walk into a person's home, before you actually see their home and see what's going on inside their home, the decor, the color, what's going on, the music in the home, you actually smell their home. And it sounds odd, but smelling their home is immediately what you do naturally. You breathe, and when you smell, you walk in, and you make an immediate impression. So if it's vanilla that's in the air, or apple pie, you're going to immediately have a warm, comforting, inviting feeling coming about as a result of that. Everybody reacts differently to fragrance, but there are some common themes, and vanilla, as an example, for most Americans is a very positive feeling when they smell it, and that can be translated into the rooms of your homes. When people, especially these days, trying to sell homes, vanilla is one of the great fragrances that you can put into your home when you're selling it or you're trying to have a showing, because it's an immediate welcoming fragrance. It's, before someone even walks into your home, they're going to smell it and they're going to right away realize, hey, this is a place for me. And what's neat about that, again, is you can take a specific fragrance, a floral, a fresh fragrance, a spice fragrance, and it will set the tone for the room. The same room in the springtime with a floral fragrance, or in the summertime with a fragrance like Island Spa, or in the winter with fragrances that are more cinnamon-based or vanilla-based, you can change the feel of that room without actually changing anything else about the decor of the room.
I heard that you could actually change the way the size of the room is perceived.
That is true. There are certain fragrances that have the effect on people that makes it feel more airy and light and open. And just to some degree, if you think about windows and ceilings as another way of kind of tricking people about their perceptions of the size of a room, the more light that comes into a room, the higher the ceilings, the feeling is you have a bigger room. The same thing with scent. You can create a feeling that the room is actually bigger than it is based on the type of fragrance you use, and you can do the same thing about trying to make it warm and cozy. So you can take a large room and make it feel more intimate with the right fragrances.
So what scents make a room bigger?
I knew you were going to ask me that. There are a number of them, but most of them tend to be in the floral and fresh family. So fresh families would be things like Island Spa or Sun and Sand, and this whole idea of the breezy, clean cotton. There's this feeling of openness and open air, and the way that most of them are named are about outdoor spaces and
everything that reminds you of spring.
Exactly. And spring and the outdoors. I think those are two very good fragrance feelings that give you this openness. Now, things that kind of give you more of a warm, cozy feel are fragrances in the food family or in the spice. So, a buttercream and a vanilla, or some of our spices, cinnamon stick. Those tend to be more powerful fragrances, but they also tend to be fragrances that make you kind of feel like, oh, it's warm and cozy, and that intimacy that's created with that makes that room feel like you're not all the way across the hall.
So it's very intuitive when you're picking out candle scents of what it makes you feel in a room.
You bet, and there's some science behind this as well, but I think in general it's more about how you would like to have your room perceived.
Is it bad to make scents? Like, will you get overwhelmed?
Well, I think in most people's homes it's going to be hard to overwhelm you, because I think you would have to put literally hundreds of candles in your home to really overwhelm somebody. But the idea is you want fragrances that have a nice flow. You don't want to necessarily mix and match any fragrance, but believe it or not, fragrances are pretty flexible. You can take a floral and put it with a food and it works. And if you think about menus, I mean, if you go to a lot of the more leading edge restaurants these days, they're combining actually edible florals with the food, and they're putting spices in with things that you would not normally spice up, and that whole same feel of the culinary arts you can kind of translate to fragrance.
I think what most people want to know is there a scent that makes you more attractive?
Well, they're
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a whole school of thought there, but I'm going to leave that one alone.
No, I'm kidding. But is there any tips on picking a scent for yourself?
I really think the most important thing you need to do is make sure it's something you like. And so, again, as I mentioned earlier, you should ask yourself some questions. What are the things that you like? So if you do like fruit, as an example, or you like flowers, and not everybody likes flowers, and do you like to cook? Do you like baking scents? In what room do you want to put this in? You know, I wouldn't recommend putting baking scents in the bedroom, as an example.
Unless you want to be hungry all the time.
Exactly. Or in the study or something like that. You'd want to put baking scents primarily in the kitchen and some of the other living areas. And so it's really intuitive. And so I would encourage people to think about, you know, what do you want? You know, how do you want your house to be transported or transformed?
When you're using candles, you're basically decorating with scent then.
You certainly are. And some people shop by color, but actually what I'd recommend for most people is to shop by fragrance. You know, pick the fragrance you really like that you want in that room. And the color, there's so many other elements in your home that are going to provide the color. The candle is only one small aspect of it. And yes, color is important, but by far, in our experience, fragrance is what you really want to make your decision on.
Not to mention, in each category, you have so many of those colors. You've got tons of choices.
Exactly, you sure do. That's a great point.
Check out my website, askthedecorator.com, to discover more about this topic, read informative how-to articles, or watch other videos from my trip. You'll find a variety of helpful decorating advice when you stop by.